Right after giving birth, my husband's mother insisted the baby stay in her room for bonding. When I refused, she scoffed, "I'll do what's best for my grandchild." My husband shrugged. Maybe she's right. That night I packed a bag. The next morning, she walked into the nursery and realized I was gone. My husband Mark and I live in Charleston, South Carolina. We've been married for 5 years. Things between us were never great, but I thought they were stable enough. We didn't argue much, but that's probably because I stopped bringing things up. I learned a long time ago that Mark's way of keeping the peace was just ignoring whatever bothered me. But this isn't really about Mark. This is about his mom. Her name is Beverly. She's the kind of person who always has to be in charge. Every holiday is at her house. Every family event is planned by her. And every conversation somehow circles back to her. Honestly, I managed it for years. I stayed polite, I smiled, I let her make her comments, and I didn't push back until now. I gave birth in one of the local hospitals, just a normal delivery, nothing crazy. Noah was born in the afternoon. Mark called Beverly the second Noah was out, even though I asked him to wait. Before I even held my own baby for a full hour, she was already standing in the room acting like it was her baby, not mine. She didn't even congratulate me. She just walked right in, grabbed my son out of Mark's arms, and started fussing over him like she owned the place. Oh, just look at him, my little grandbaby. I was still bleeding, I was still shaking, and I hadn't eaten in almost a day. She didn't care. Mark didn't say a word. He just sat there watching. Fine, whatever. I told myself to let it go. Maybe it was just excitement. Maybe it was just her being over the top like usual. But then that night, right before visiting hours were over, Beverly came back, and that's when it started. I was lying there exhausted. Noah was sleeping in his little bassinet next to me. Mark was scrolling on his phone like usual. Beverly walked in carrying her purse and a tote bag like she was moving in. She didn't sit down. She didn't say hello. She just said, "I'll take Noah tonight. He should stay with me in my room so I can bond with him." I thought I heard her wrong. I literally laughed a little and said, "What?" She smiled at me like I was some clueless child. "Honey, you need to rest. You just had a baby. You don't want to overdo it. Let me take him for the night. I'll bring him back in the morning. You'll feel so much better." And before I could even get a full sentence out, Mark jumped in with, "Maybe she's right." He didn't even look up from his phone. He just said it like it was no big deal. I sat there in shock. "No," I said. "No, that's not happening." Beverly rolled her eyes. "I'm just trying to do what's best for my grandchild. He needs to bond with his grandmother. I raised 3 kids. I know what I'm doing." "No," I said again, louder this time. She scoffed. "Well, we'll see." And then she left. I couldn't sleep. That night I stared at Noah. I thought about the way she said, "We'll see." Like she thought I didn't have a say, like she thought my baby was hers. And Mark, he didn't care. He didn't defend me. He didn't ask how I felt. He just fell asleep. That was the moment I knew I was done. I wasn't just going to let her bulldoze me, and I wasn't going to stay married to someone who thought that was okay. So while Mark snored next to me, I picked up my phone and called my sister. She lives in Asheville, North Carolina. I told her everything without hesitation. She said, "I'll come get you. Pack a bag." I waited until morning. I didn't say a word to Mark. I didn't say a word to Beverly. Around 6 a.m. I got up, dressed slowly, packed my stuff, packed Noah's things, and got ready like it was just another day. I signed the hospital release forms and told the nurse I was leaving against medical advice. They tried to get me to stay. I didn't. And just like that, I walked out of the hospital with my son. By the time Mark woke up, I was already gone. I left a note at the nurse's station. Simple. "Noah and I are safe. Don't call me." And that was it. My sister picked me up. We drove straight to her place for hours on the highway, with my newborn sleeping quietly beside me. I checked my phone halfway through the drive. 50 missed calls, texts from Mark, from Beverly, from random numbers I didn't recognize. "Mark, where are you? This is crazy. Come back. Beverly, you're making a scene. Bring my baby back." Her baby, not mine, hers. That was the final straw. And just so you know, I'm not someone who posts on Facebook. I don't do drama online. I keep my life private. But this time I made an exception because Beverly had been running around telling all her friends she was helping me, that I was so tired and so grateful to have her taking over. She was lying to everyone. So I made it public for anyone wondering where Noah and I are. I left to protect my newborn after Beverly tried to take over as his primary caregiver against my wishes. Mark supported her. I'm safe. Noah is safe. Please respect our privacy. Any other version of this story is false. That post spread like wildfire. Her church friends saw it, her coworkers, the whole town probably saw it. And the text started changing. Now it was Mark. Why would you embarrass us like that? Beverly. I was just trying to help. You're making this worse than it is. Sure, Bev, sure. I haven't responded. Not yet. And I'm not done. For about 2 days, I ignored every call and text. I stayed at my sister's place just trying to breathe, trying to eat, trying to figure out how the hell my life flipped upside down. I thought maybe the Facebook posts would shut them up. Maybe they'd leave me alone if the whole story was out there. Wrong. On the 3rd day, I woke up to banging on the front door. Jenna peeked out the window, turned back and whispered, "It's him, Mark." I froze. She said, "Want me to tell him to leave?" I shook my head. I wanted to hear what lie he'd try to sell me. I opened the door and there he was, same old Mark, hoodie, jeans, hands in his pockets, looking like he just rolled out of bed. He didn't even meet my eyes. "Can we talk?" he mumbled. "No," I said, "but go ahead anyway." He glanced past me like he expected to see Noah sitting on the couch, waving at him or something. "You're overreacting," he started. "Mom was just trying to help. You're making this into something it's not. You embarrassed her. You embarrassed me." I almost laughed. "This isn't about embarrassment," I said. "She tried to take my baby. You backed her up. What exactly do you think was going to happen?" "She wasn't taking him forever," he said, like that made it better. "Just for the night, just to give you a break." I stared at him. "In her house." She meant well. I shook my head. "We're done." And then he said the part that still makes my skin crawl. "Well, she's already talking to a lawyer." I blinked. "For what?" "For custody," he said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. That's when I realized Beverly wasn't just some overbearing grandma. She was planning this. She thought if she made me look unstable, she could take Noah from me. And Mark, he was going along with it. That same afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. Then my sister's phone rang. She answered on speaker. "Hello." It was Beverly. "I know she's there," Beverly said, all cold and fake sweet. "Just tell her we can work this out if she brings Noah back today. I won't press charges." "Press charges for what?" "Being his mother." I took the phone from Jenna and said, "You're not getting him. You're making a mistake." Beverly snapped, "You're tired. You're not thinking straight. It's better if you hand him over now before this gets ugly." I hung up. Then I called my lawyer. And that's when the next twist hit. Turns out Beverly wasn't just talking. She actually filed for emergency temporary custody, claiming I was mentally unstable, refusing help and putting Noah at risk. She wrote this whole fake story about me being erratic and unfit. Mark signed a statement supporting it. They were working together to take my newborn. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I was in some twisted Lifetime movie. The lawyer told me to stay put. Don't go home, don't contact them directly. Just wait and be ready to respond in court. And now every second felt like a year. I kept looking at Noah sleeping in his little portable crib, wondering how anyone could look at a new mom and think, "Yeah, let's take her baby." But Beverly didn't think I deserved him. She thought she did. And Mark, I think deep down, he always listened to his mom more than he ever listened to me. The next morning, Jenna woke me up in a panic. "There's someone outside," she whispered. I peeked out the window. It was Beverly just standing by her car, looking at the house, waiting. She stayed there for 3 hours, didn't knock, didn't leave, just stood there like some horror movie villain. And when she finally left, Mark texted me, "You made her cry. I hope you're happy." Cry? She was trying to take my baby. Trying to take my child made her cry. A friend from town sent me screenshots. Beverly was spreading lies on Facebook. Now stuff like, "Please pray for my grandson. We're doing everything we can to protect him from a dangerous situation. His mother isn't well. We just want what's best." People believed her. People were commenting things like, "So sorry, Beverly. Stay strong. That baby deserves safety." Like I was some criminal, like I hadn't just given birth days ago. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash her whole life apart. But I stayed quiet for now because my lawyer had a plan. And if Beverly thought this was over, she had no idea what was coming. 2 days after Beverly filed for emergency custody, I got a call from my lawyer early in the morning. "We have a problem," she said. I just sat there holding Noah, waiting for the next bomb to drop. "She's claiming you have postpartum psychosis," my lawyer said. "She submitted statements from Mark. They're saying you're having delusions, that you're paranoid. They're painting you like you're a danger to the baby." I couldn't believe it. They weren't just trying to take my baby anymore. They were trying to make me look insane. And the thing is, if you've ever been a new mom, you know how fragile that time is. You're sleep deprived, your hormones are wrecked, you cry at random commercials, you forget what day it is. So now all the normal stuff that happens after birth, they were using it against me. And these people weren't strangers. This was my husband, the father of my child. I hung up the phone and cried harder than I've ever cried in my life. Jenna sat next to me, rubbing my back. "We're going to fight this, you know that, right? You're not crazy, they're desperate." I nodded, but inside I felt like I was trapped underwater while I was falling apart. Jenna was digging through Facebook. She's the type who always knows everything about everyone. And guess what she found? Beverly had been messaging people. Not just posting those vague "pray for my grandson" updates. She was straight up sending private messages to people I knew, telling them that if they wanted to be on the right side of things, they needed to come forward with anything they'd ever seen me do that seemed unstable. She even messaged my old boss, asking if I'd ever acted off at work. I hadn't worked there in years. I guess she thought if she could pile up enough people, the court would believe her. But here's the part that really made my stomach flip. One of the people she messaged was Jenna's best friend, Claire. CLA sent Jenna screenshots of the messages. Beverly said this: "We just need her out of the picture. If you can think of anything, even small stuff, it will help us get Noah where he belongs." Where he belongs, like I was some temporary babysitter holding her property. CLA, bless her, played along. She told Beverly she might remember some things and asked if Beverly could explain exactly what the plan was. And Beverly, being the absolute idiot that she spilled it. Word for word, "Once we have temporary custody, we'll file for permanent. We're gathering statements. Mark's moving back in with us, we'll raise Noah here. She can visit if she gets help, but I'm not holding my breath." They were planning to replace me, kick me out of my own baby's life like I was just the delivery person and now my job was done. I sat there staring at those screenshots, shaking. That's when it clicked. This wasn't some heat of the moment thing. They'd been planning this for months. Looking back, all the weird comments Beverly made during my pregnancy suddenly made sense. "You're going to be so tired. Maybe Noah should stay with me the first few weeks. Babies bond best with people who are calm. You'll be overwhelmed. I've already got the nursery ready at my house just in case." Just in case. She never thought I could handle it. She didn't want me to handle it. She thought Noah was hers from the start, and now she was just following through on her plan. I may have been tired. I may have been scared, but I wasn't about to let them win, not after seeing those messages. So I sent every screenshot straight to my lawyer. The whole thing, every word of Beverly spelling out how she was plotting to take my child. My lawyer's exact words: "This changes everything." After the screenshots, my lawyer filed our own paperwork. We attached every single message where Beverly admitted what she was doing. We asked for a protective order against her. We also requested full emergency custody for me to block any attempt they had of taking Noah. The court date was set fast, and I didn't tell anyone what was coming. Not Mark, not Beverly. They thought I was hiding, scared and losing. They had no idea I was loading the gun. Court was scheduled for a Monday morning. We showed up early. Jenna came with me, holding Noah while I tried to keep my hands from shaking. Across the hallway, Beverly and Mark sat together on a bench. I looked at them through the glass door. Mark was scrolling his phone. Beverly was fixing her hair in a compact mirror like she was heading to brunch. It hit me all at once. They thought this was already theirs. They really believed they were walking in there to win. They thought Noah was already gone from me. I wanted to scream, but instead I walked into the courtroom, head high, heart racing, with my lawyer at my side. We waited. The judge came in, the hearing started. Beverly was called first. She stood up, cleared her throat, and gave this speech about how worried she was for Noah. How much she loved him, how unstable I'd been since giving birth. She said things like, "We're just trying to help her. We're concerned she hasn't been herself." My son agreed that Noah is safer with us right now. Mark nodded along like a little puppet. Then it was my lawyer's turn. She didn't waste time. She handed the judge a folder printed with screenshots. All of them. "Your Honor," my lawyer said. "These are private messages from Beverly sent over the past week, explaining how she and her son plan to take full custody of the baby and remove the mother from his life. This was never about concern, this was about control." The room went dead silent. You could feel the air change. The judge took his time reading through every page. When he finished, he looked over the top of his glasses at Beverly. "Ma'am," he said, "do you have an explanation for these messages?" And just like that, Beverly's whole mask cracked. She stammered. She tried to say they were taken out of context. She said I must have hacked her account. Then she glared at me and hissed, "You don't know what you're doing." But the judge wasn't buying it. He asked Mark if he was aware of the messages, and here's the twist. Mark shrugged and said, "Yeah, we talked about it. It was just an idea. Like plotting to rip a newborn from his mom was just some fun weekend plan." People in the courtroom started whispering. The judge shut it down fast, but the damage was done. They showed exactly who they were. I didn't even mean to say it out loud, but it came out anyway. "You're both disgusting." Beverly snapped her head toward me and spat out, "You're ungrateful. We were saving him from you." And that's when Jenna stood up, holding Noah, and said loud enough for the whole courtroom, "Saving him? You tried to steal him." You could feel the weight of it. The judge cleared his throat, and then came his decision. He denied Beverly's custody request. He granted me sole legal and physical custody effective immediately, and he ordered Beverly to stay at least 500 feet away from me and Noah. Mark wasn't included in the order, but his name was barely hanging on in the paperwork. The judge said if he tried anything else, we'd be back in court, and next time it wouldn't be pretty. The second the judge left the room, Beverly stood up and pointed at me. "This isn't over," she hissed. Mark just looked at the floor. He couldn't even meet my eyes. They stormed out together, and that was the last time I saw them. By the time we got back to Jenna's house, people from town were already messaging me. The truth was out. Beverly's little lies fell apart. The same people who were sending her thoughts and prayers before, now they were messaging me to apologize, or worse, pretending they never believed her. And Beverly, her church friends, stopped inviting her to things. People at her work heard what she did. She lost whatever imaginary respect she thought she had. Mark didn't even try to call me again. I heard through someone that he moved back in with Beverly. 2 peas in a rotten pod. Here's the part one didn't expect. After everything, after all the fighting, after finally being safe, I thought I'd feel relief, but mostly I felt grief. Not just for what happened, but for what could have been. I thought I had a husband, I thought I had a family. Instead, I had people who saw me as an obstacle, people who thought my son was better off without me. And I keep replaying it in my head. Hospital, the nursery, her saying, "I'll do what's best for my grandchild." And now I know what she meant. She meant taking him away from me forever. But she lost, and Noah's safe. I'm done being quiet because the truth matters, and people like Beverly, they don't get to win. Not in the end.